All right, so we're purchasing a truck that's already after taxes, so we don't need to add any taxes. There's a down payment, and you're amortizing it over 5 years at 5.5%. Monthly payment, right? This should be a home run question, right? You take the down payment off, you take that table rate divided by 1,000, so 5.5 over 5 years, that's at 1910. Okay, so do yourself a favor, don't enter it all in one shot, just do that step there, right? 32,800, that's 27,300. That's the loan you're taking, and you're going to be paying this much per $1,000 of loan, right? So you go times 19.10 divided by 1,000. So you should get 521.43. Dollar sign. It would be nice if you don't lose any marks due to the dollar sign, right? Just put a dollar sign there. Doesn't hurt. And there you have it. We're good? So this is what you're going to be paying every month for 5 years. No change, okay? Calculate the total interest paid for the vehicle by the end of the 5 years. So this is the total interest. So you take your payment. Sometimes they'll ask you before, how much did you pay the bank? And then they'll ask for total interest. In this case, they go right to the total interest. And in this case, it's times 5 years. So this is how much you paid the bank over 5 years. You subtract what you borrowed in the first place. That's what we call the loan, right? Loan, this is paid to bank. So you need to make sure you understand the pieces of this formula, right? And let me just quickly do this. This part is 31,285.80 minus 27,300. If you show your work and you make a mistake, you're most likely only going to lose half a mark, because it's just maybe you typed it in wrong or something. I do an investigation there, but if you show me the work, then I'm like, okay, you know what you're doing. You just, something went wrong when you typed it in. So that's the interest you paid over. Let's just for fun, how much interest would you have paid just that first month, right? First month interest, because this is for you to review, right? So if they're asking how much interest did you pay just that first month, this is what I want you to remember. If it's asking that first month, it has to be a portion of your payment. It cannot be bigger than your payment, right? Because every month you're paying $521, so only some of it is interest. So if you're getting thousands of dollars for how much interest did you pay on the first month, something is wrong. You're doing it wrong. Okay, so this is what I give you the lowercase I for this. You take the loan, you multiply it by the interest rate, not the table rate. The table rate, I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. This table rate is done. You find your payment, that's it. You don't use it anymore. Some of you are using it here. This is the interest rate. It's this guy. Okay, let's see if it finds its way into this formula right there. And as it's traveling, it turns into transformers, right? 0.055, like that. I divided it by 100 basically, and then I divide it by 12. So this gives me how much interest I paid just that first month. And it's 125.13. So the rest is the principal. Like this much the bank will take off of your payment, and the rest goes towards bringing down the owing balance. Okay, so remember that. State 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages of buying a new vehicle. That the question would probably be as opposed to a used one, right? So it's safer. Always, if it's asking you to also explain, right? It has the newest features, right? The latest safety features, backup camera, you know, lane departure, assist, blah, 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 yeah. It has a warranty, yes. So that would result in lower maintenance costs, right? So sometimes it's like state what. So if you put warranty, then explanation would be it's a new car, so you will pay less on maintenance and something because major damages are covered, and so forth. So I will just say there's lower maintenance cost. Don't say no maintenance cost. That's not true. You have to do oil changes. You still have to replace the tires every once in a while, right? You have to change the filters. All of those things have to be done, okay? If you're not mechanically inclined, then take it to like Super Lube or Mr. Lube or one of those drive-in places, right? They'll make sure they replace your filters because you have a cabin filter that filters the air coming into your cabin, and you have an engine air filter which filters the air going into your engine. If that is clogged, your engine will not perform well, okay? So you have to replace that every year. YouTube it, Google it, you'll find it, right? Okay, next, disadvantages, higher insurance costs. Because it costs more to insure, yeah. Oh, yes. You pay freight, yeah. Yes. Ah, that's right. So, was that on your study sheet or did you just remember? Oh, right on. There you go. So it's beefed up. Yeah. Higher depreciation, right? So that would be another disadvantage. Higher depreciation costs. You lose value more rapidly. An advantage, another advantage. Anybody have something cool there for advantage? You can customize it because you're ordering off of a, what do you call that? Like a website where you put it together, right? Mm-hmm. Yep, paint job. If you want heated seats, sports package, blah, 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 right? All of that is extra. Yeah, but you can do that. Okay, good. And so I could have done the same thing with used. So make sure you go back to that booklet and kind of get two of each. Two is good, okay? Okay, Anthony's purchasing a vehicle in Manitoba through a private sale. There is that private. So you should right away hone into that for this much. So this is how much you're agreeing to pay for that car. Whether it's worth it or not, that's how much you're paying, right? A lien search was done for 45 bucks. The book value is 22,500. There's that book value, which is very important to us when we're buying private, right? Anthony has a safety check performed for 45. There's a safety for 45 as well. Calculate the total cost after tax. So when you're using my formula, that is doing that for you. It's finding the price after tax. Okay, so don't go times 1.12 at the end. Have I said that many times? Probably, right? You know why I say that? Because it happens a lot, right? So especially when we haven't done vehicle finance in a while, the 1 times 1.12 shows up all the time. Okay, so use private. I'm going to take my actual value. I'm going to take the book value and apply the taxes, the PST, to the book value, because that's higher in this case. Please don't think it's always the book value. Please don't make that assumption. It's the higher of the two, okay? Plus the safety, that gets taxed 1.5%, so we go 1.05 because we want to add it to 45. And the lien search, which has no taxes to it. And so now, here we go. 15, this right here, 1575 would be the taxes on that car. Autopack charges that, not the owner. Do not give the taxes to the person you're buying it from. When you go in and get it insured, they're going to charge it to you. Okay? 45 times 1.05, 47.25. And lien doesn't get taxed. So let's go and add everything up. 20,167.25. And $, right? There you go. That's that. If there is no lien, if there is no safety, if there is no parts and labor, just don't worry about it, right? That formula is kind of like every possible scenario is there, but if it's not given, then just cut it, okay? Okay, legal finance is done. Remember, the answer keys are online, okay? For the yellow and the pink, you can look at under classwork, it says exam keys or something, and it actually I put yellow next to this one and pink next to this one. The booklet is twice as thick as this, if you were to print it, so you have to scroll through it until you find the answers that you're trying to find, okay? Because the pink one I didn't work through. Anybody would like me to answer a question on that pink booklet? If you do, let me know. I can come and see you. I'll gladly go over that. So let's take our pink sheet here. And let's focus on trigonometry. And I hope you have your booklets and your tests still. I used to keep all the tests until the very end, and I just give them to you so this year you kept them right from the beginning, right? So you should have a stash somewhere of tests, right? Hopefully. Okay, trig, sine law and cosine law, basically. And the key here is listen carefully. There's only one law that you can start a question with. There's only one. You can't do cosine or sine law. So you're going to have to pick. Once you solve for one thing, you can switch over to whichever one you like from then on. But at the beginning, you can only pick one. And so sine law, I want you to remember when you have a pair. But you have to watch for the hidden pair. Okay? What's the hidden pair, you may ask? It's the one that, right? If I gave you that this is 40 and this is 70, and you have a side here, let's say it's 3.8 kilometers, it may seem like there's no pair, right? But because of these two angles, you can easily find that third one, right? So to find that, it's just 180 minus 40 minus 70. And that is 70, right? So now you have a pair. Okay. Basically find third angle. By the way, that's the first thing I would do. If I have two angles in a triangle, I would find the third one right away, because it's, sorry, you can't see that, can you? I need a camera crew to follow my work here. There. Right? So find a third angle. Now you have a pair. Okay? Okay, zooming out again. And I also want to remind you that side and angle should always be paired up. So if you have a triangle like this, copy this down, right? And you go A, B, C for capitals. Those are the angles. The sides across from them are lowercase. That's normally how we do it. So if you want to start solving, you have to say that sine of angle A, right, is going to be across side A. Always. And then you say that is going to be equal to sine of B over side B. And only one of them can be unknown to you. Okay, not both, right? Not two things, only one. So look at what you can solve for, but one should be known to you. You should have a full complete pair where you know the angle and the side across from it. And then on the other side, see which one of these two you have and then solve for the angle, right? If solving for angles, right, use sine inverse. Okay, we have to use sine inverse if you're going to solve for an angle. That's very important. I'm going to break this up into cosine law here. There are only two cases that you can solve cosine law, that you can use cosine law for. The first one is this case here, where you have, should I actually use numbers? I will use numbers. So let's say this side is 4.1 and this one is 5.7. And the angle in between, let's say it's 28 degrees. This is what we call a side angle side. And I think I'm going to zoom into that one right now. Okay, that's a side angle side scenario. And so in this case, we can only solve for this. If you have the side angle side like this, there is no pair. Watch that. There's no way you can get a pair here. So if you want to solve for that side, you have to use this. X squared is equal to 4.1 squared, right? You take that side and this side. Almost looks like Pythagorean theorem at first. But then you go minus 2 times 4.1 times 5.7 times cosine of 28. Okay. And then your next step would be x is equal to, when there's x squared, you want to square root the other side so you only get x on its own, right? And if you have your calculators, I would encourage you to make sure you know how to type this in. Right, so I go squared minus 2 times 4.1 times 5.7 times cosine of 28, and that gives me 8.0310. It keeps going. I'm going to use the whole thing. It's going to press square root equals 2.83 is, and we'll put units down. That's how you solve one of those. So you should recognize, oh yeah, this is the two sides where the angle is in between. It's like this is cosine law, and this is how I should solve that. Okay. Next, this is the second scenario for cosine law. Cosine law where you have all three sides are given to you. So let's go 1.2, 1.7, and this is 1.9. Hold on. I want to get a negative. So 1 second. I'm making this up, right? We're going to go, yeah, we're going to go 2.3 here, folks, instead of 1.9. 2.3. And let's say we want to find angle, let's call this angle Y. Like, let's say you want to try to find this angle here. First of all, if it's side, 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 you know you have to use cosine law. And so the way you do that is you go cosine of Y. Remember, the angle can never just appear on its own, it has to be glued with a cosine or sine. And then you go like this. And because you're trying to find Y, right, the side across from it has to be here towards the end and minus, right? Minus 2.3 squared. And then you take the other two square and add them, right? Make sure that the side opposite to the angle you're trying to find is at the end, subtracting. It's not always the longest, it's just in this case it happens to be the longest side, right? So at the bottom you go 2 times 1.2 times 1.7. And let's clean that up a little bit. And this is how I do it. I go 1.2 squared plus 1.7 squared minus 2.3 squared. And that gives me negative. Use all decimals, okay? And in the denominator, that's 4.08. And let's now get that as a decimal. So negative 0.96. Don't drop the negative. Divided by 4.08. That is negative 0.2353. If you want to use only 4 decimals, that's fine. So angle Y, right? Remember, if you're trying to find an angle, you have to use the inverse of that. And here it is. Oh, I should have used, oh well, it's too late. I erased it. Cosine of negative 0.2353. What do we know if this is negative? What type of angle are we expecting? Obtuse, you remember that? Obtuse means bigger than 90. So let's see. 103.61. So 103.61 degrees. So let's make a note here, because of that, it will be obtuse, an obtuse angle, right? Other than that, that basically summarizes Trig. Trig is actually, if you think about it, not like there's only so many cases. If you know what to do, then you're good. Like you just need to know which one do I start with and how do I solve. Look at the marks associated with that question. If it's only 2 marks, you know that it's not going to be a whole lot of work. 3 marks, sometimes there are 4 marks. So watch out for that. I'm going to stop there. Geometry, maybe I'll just talk about it a little bit later. But geometry, you know your size, right? Like your sum of angles, interior angle, central, exterior, and diagonals. Like there's formulas for all of them. You should have that on your study sheet. What does regular versus irregular polygon mean? Regular polygon, all sides, all angles are the same. Irregular, they're not all the same, right? You have to be able to sketch and label properties of quadrilaterals, right? So you need to be able to, right, if it's a rhombus, right, example of a rhombus, it's basically a slanted square. So all sides are the same. And this side is parallel to that side. This side is parallel to that side. That's two properties right there. Sorry, right? So all sides are the same, parallel, parallel. So you should be able to label it. If you have a kite is basically a diamond. Don't say it's a diamond. I won't recognize that shape. We know that these two are the same, and we know that these two are the same. And we know that the diagonals of a kite meet at a 90. That would be two properties right there. We had a trapezoid, and in particular a right trapezoid. Well, it's the one that has, right, one cut off like this and the other one has a slant. So if you put a 90 here and a 90 there, that would be one property. This being parallel to that is also another property. So yeah, just review that. Make sure you know how to draw any quadrilateral that I'm throwing your way, and know how to. It doesn't say classify triangles, so I'm going to do that here. Can you add that bullet here? Classify triangles by side length and angle measure. For angle, you had three options, right? Acute, obtuse, right. For side length, you had scalene, isosceles, and equilateral. Okay. I'm zooming in, so that's why I'm always off the chart there. So grab your yellow booklets and go to Trig and Geometry, focusing a little bit more on Trig, but you can also do the geometry questions. So it's question 22 on page 23 of the yellow booklet. And let's just work through those. If you still need to do vehicle finance, like on the pink, right? Like you also want to be doing that and checking your answers. Okay, so I'm going to pause here. Okay, so it's the yellow booklet, January 2020. So we're in the geometry section. So let's go over this. Determinant number of diagonals, right, for a regular dodecagon. And it's a 12-sided shape, which means that n in our formula will be replaced by 12. So if you look up your formula, it's actually in the yellow formula sheet. Number of diagonals in a polygon, it's that is our formula. So it's n times n minus 3 divided by 2. So it's 12 times 12 minus 3 over 2, which is 12 times, that's 9, right? Over 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6 times 9 is 54 diagonals. Okay, so that's that. You could also find the interior angle, right? Anything. So if they ask for the interior angle, that's n minus 2 times 180 degrees divided by n. So it'd be 12 minus 2 times 180 divided by 12. And that'd be 10 times 180 divided by 12. I need help with that. 1800 divided by 12 basically, right? So it's 150 degrees. The exterior angle is 360 divided by n. And so that would be the exterior, or subtract that from 180, you get the exterior angle there. Central angle, all that, just be ready for it. Okay, given the following regular octagon. Regular is important in this unit because it tells us that all sides are the same, right? Calculate the measure of one of the central angles. So central would be 360 divided by 8, right? And we calculate that, and that's 45 degrees. That's it. Calculate the measure of angle Y. Now, what I want you to understand is that every single one of these triangles formed in here is an isosceles, meaning this side is equal to that side, right? So let's draw this one out here. Zoom into it. This is Y. And we just found the central angle, which is 45, right? One of those pizza slices, right? That's the central angle there. And because this is an isosceles, right? We know that actually these two are the same, right? The angles across those sides are the same, right? And so angle Y is going to be 180 minus 45. Right, you subtract the 45 from it, and we're going to divide that difference in half. Okay, so we go 180 minus 45 divided by 2, so that's 67.5 degrees. That is angle Y. So both of these are 67.5 degrees, right? And so there you have it. Next. Question 24, calculate the length of side A given the measurements below. So remember, there's only sine law or cosine law that you can start with. 3 marks. So this is the side angle side scenario. So we have to use cosine law. That's one way of doing it, or just recognize that you don't have a pair at all and no way of getting one. So to find A, right, we go A squared is 8 squared plus 12 squared minus 2 times 8 times 12 times cosine of 30. A is square root of, let's figure out what that is, 64 plus 144 plus, minus 2 times 8 times 12 times cosine of 30. That's 41.723, and that keeps going. We'll take the square root of that. 646. 6.46 feet. And just by observation, this being 6.46 feet, it's the shortest side of the 3, meaning that this will also be the smallest angle. Okay. Vivian states that an equilateral triangle is also an obtuse triangle. Equilateral, right? Just think about it. All 3 sides are the same, and therefore all angles are the same, and the only way to get that is to divide 180 in thirds, and that's 60, 60, 60. So it cannot be obtuse, right? So now we're going to select the correct. Vivian is correct. So let's get rid of the correct ones, because those are not it, right? We have to pick one of the incorrect. It's incorrect because equilateral triangles are also acute. The also is what I don't like, because it's not also, it is only acute, right? Vivian is incorrect because equilateral triangles have a 90-degree angle. Oh, which one is correct? Vivian is incorrect because equilateral triangles are also acute. So yeah, this one doesn't make sense. Sorry here. I was just sidetracked. Are also acute. So equilateral are also acute. So this statement is saying that they are acute. So yes, C is the right answer there. Isosceles could be obtuse, but an equilateral cannot. Okay, next. Marcelo draws a rectangle PQRS, right? That's what it's standing for. It's stating the corners with a center C and the line segment CQ. So from C to Q is 5. State the measure of the diagonal PR, P to R. Now, we know that the diagonals in a rectangle bisect. So this is 5 centimeters. Right? So this is the same as that. And we also know that the diagonals are congruent. So from S to Q is 10, therefore P to R is 10 centimeters as well. So this is just stated basically, right? State, you don't even have to calculate. It's only worth 1 mark. Jeff is going to on a canoe trip with his school. The diagram shows the 3 campsites they will use. Calculate the distance between campsite B and C. So this question, right, it wants the distance between B and C. So this is our, sometimes we can do it in one shot, sometimes we can't. And this, right, is has a hidden pair. We talked about that. Because if you do have a pair, you can use sine law. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find angle B here because I have 2 angles already. So the third one is easy to find. And then I will have a pair indeed. So 180 minus 99 minus 51. So it's 30 degrees. Could have done the math here, right? This is 150. So there we go. So angle B is that. Technically, we're not answering the questions just yet, so I should have just underlined that. Okay, and so then we have our pair, so we start with it. I always start with it. So sine of 30, you can write that in if you'd like. Sine of 30 over 82 meters is equal to sine of, and here you have to be careful which one you pick. We want to pick this one because that's going to find us or give us the side across from that angle. So not 51, but 99 needs to be picked here. Cross multiply and divide. 82 times sine of 99 over sine of 30. It's 161.98. And we're in meters, so there we go. Okay, moving on. Precision measurement, we're not going to do that. So basically, I'm going to stop this here for now.